Whenever you join a match of rivals and instantly get beamed across the map by some kid staring at the floor but magically hitting every single headshot, your first instinct isn't to be reasonable. Your instinct, and honestly everyone's instinct, is to instantly say the game is complete trash, the devs only care about milking us for money, and the anti-cheat is dog water. I get it. The last time I made a video covering this, we were mostly dealing with surface level stuff, but after getting cross-map for the thousandth time, I realized that just screaming that the devs are lazy literally doesn't accomplish anything. So why is it that the devs can't just patch cheats? Well, for us to understand that, we must go into how cheats work. We're doing a complete documentary style breakdown on the actual architecture of these exploits, how they completely bypass the anti-cheat at an operating system level, and why the whole FPS industry is losing this fight. To understand why cheating is so rampant, you need to understand Game Design 101. There's one golden rule in cybersecurity and networking: never trust the client. Roblox runs on a client-server architecture. The server is the central boss hosting the match, but the client is the actual game running on your PC. Because the game is physically processing on your hardware, you have ultimate administrative control over the memory space. Exploiters don't hack Roblox's servers, they hijack their own computer's RAM to rewrite the game's data before it ever gets sent to the server. When you load up Roblox, Hyperion, the Bifront anti-cheat, is supposed to act like a guard at the door, making sure nobody is messing with the game's memory. But the exploit development community has turned this into a massive, highly profitable industry. If you look at live exploit trackers right now, like WhatXR Online or Voxels.net, you can see exactly what we are dealing with. There are currently working bypasses that completely shred Hyperion. They fall into three distinct, highly technical tiers. Let's break down exactly what these executors are doing to your game right now, because it's way more advanced than people think. For Tier 1, we have externals. A lot of people think externals are just pixel reading AI aimbots, but real Tier 1 exploits are much deeper than that. These are standalone programs that manipulate your game using legitimate Windows API calls. They use functions built right into your operating system, like open process, read process memory, and write process memory. Because they don't actually inject any code into the Roblox process itself, they operate entirely from the outside. They open a handle to the game, read where the enemy players are to draw ESP boxes on your screen, and write directly to your memory to snap your crosshair for an aimbot. Traditional anti-cheats have a massive blind spot to this because to the system it looks like just a normal Windows background process doing standard memory reads. For Tier 2, we have external executors. A current example would be Solera. This is where things start getting dirty. These operate out of process, just like Tier 1, but they are designed specifically to execute Lua scripts instead of just reading and writing basic values. They manipulate your RAM from the outside to push raw Lua-U bytecode directly into the game's execution pipeline. They bypass Hyperion by essentially just sitting outside its perimeter and throwing scripts over the fence into the game's task scheduler. They might lack the absolute highest level of internal execution privileges, but they are more than capable enough to ruin a public lobby. For Tier 3, we have internal executors, such as Wave, Volcano, Delta, Volt, etc. These are heavyweights, the absolute worst of the worst. An internal executor physically injects a custom DLL straight into Roblox player beta.exe. They don't sit on the outside, they hijack the game engine itself. They find an entry point to spawn their own threads inside the game, giving them what's called an Identity A access, the highest level of execution context. They hook internal game functions, meaning they have complete engine control. With an internal, you can expand hitboxes to the size of a house, manipulate your exact coordinates, and auto-fire with zero recoil. They don't just play the game, they become the game. So, knowing how these work, why don't the devs just patch the fly hacks and aimbots? Because it's a massive technical compromise. Let's talk about movement. When you hit one of those pads in Rivals to launch yourself across the map, the game has to instantly calculate your velocity. If the developer forces the server to calculate your physics every single time you hit a pad, the game feels incredibly laggy, clunky, and delayed for everyone. You'd hit a pad, wait half a second, and then rubber band across the map. To make the game actually feel smooth and competitive, the devs have to let your client, your PC, handle that movement calculation. But the second they trust your client to do that, a Tier 3 executor can just intercept that velocity value using the hooks we just talked about. Boom, now you have a kid flying across the map at Mach 10, and the server just accepts it because it was told to trust the client for movement. And aimbots? An aimbot literally just mimics the human mouse inputs. The game has to render the enemy on your screen so you can see them. A Tier 1 external cheat just reads that required memory coordinate, snaps your crosshair using those Windows API calls. Without intercepting your raw hardware inputs, the game engine physically cannot tell the difference between a real player hitting a crazy flick and a script writing to your mouse coordinates. So, what is the actual solution? It all comes down to the operating system. Think of it like this. User mode, which is Ring 3, is like being a guest in a house. You can hang out, watch TV, and eat the food, but you can't change the locks. Kernel level, which is like Ring 0, is like being the homeowner. You have the master keys, and you can control the very foundation of the operating system. Right now, Roblox's Hyperion anti-cheat is just a guest in the house. It's stuck in user mode. If Roblox corporate decided to move into a kernel level, like Vanguard does for Valorant, those exploits would be wiped out overnight. All internal executors and external executors alike would instantly brick your account with a permanent hardware ID ban before you fully load it in. But they haven't done it. Why? First, it ruins compatibility for Mac, Linux, and mobile players, but more importantly, privacy. Roblox is a platform filled with millions of younger players. Forcing a Ring 0 driver, which has unrestricted master access to your entire operating system, is a massive security risk. If a bad actor found a vulnerability in that driver, they could theoretically compromise millions of PCs globally. They are choosing safety and accessibility over a completely cheat-free game. It's a massive trade-off, so the next time you join a match and get beamed in Rivals, take a breath. Don't go spamming the Discord saying the game is trash and the devs are greedy. Their hands are tied by the literal architecture of how PC gaming works. Until the higher-ups at Roblox decide to take the massive risk and drop that kernel-level hammer, this cat and mouse game isn't stopping anytime soon. Stay safe, don't download sketchy executors that are probably just trying to steal your Discord tokens, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.